9,000 Vikings stand on the east bank of the River Derwent, waiting for the English army to deliver tribute. Their king, Harold Hardrada, is the most feared warrior in the known world.
He stands 7 feet tall. He has fought in Constantinople, in Sicily, in Norway. He has never lost a battle. The Vikings have already crushed the northern English levies at the Battle of Fulford just 5 days ago.
England is on its knees. The tribute is coming. Except it is not. What is coming is 15,000 English soldiers force-marched 185 miles in 4 days, led by a king who has no intention of paying tribute.
What is coming is the end of everything the Vikings have built for 300 years. What is coming is Stamford Bridge, the afternoon that ended the Viking Age forever. To understand how the Viking Age dies on an English riverbank, we need to understand what the Viking Age was. For nearly 3 centuries, the Norse raiders from Scandinavia have terrorized Europe. They have sacked Paris, they have conquered half of England, they have established kingdoms in Ireland, in Russia, in Sicily. They reached North America 500 years before Columbus. The Vikings are not just pirates or raiders anymore. They are an established military and political force, and in 1066, they are about to make their final, greatest attempt to conquer England completely. The man leading this invasion is Harold Sigurdsson, called Hardrada, which means hard ruler. His life story reads like mythology. Born a Norwegian prince, he fled into exile at age 15 after his half-brother was killed in a civil war. He ended up in Constantinople, where he joined the Varangian Guard, the elite bodyguard of the Byzantine emperor. For 15 years, Harald fought across the Mediterranean, accumulating wealth, military experience, and a reputation for both brilliance and brutality. Byzantine chronicles describe him as a giant, a man who stood head and shoulders above other warriors. They also describe him as cunning, ambitious, and utterly without mercy. In 1046, Harold returned to Scandinavia laden with Byzantine gold. Within a few years, he fought his way to the throne of Norway. For the next 2 decades, he waged constant war against Denmark, against his own rebellious subjects, against anyone who challenged his authority. By 1066, Harold Hardrada is approximately 50 years old, which is ancient for a warrior king of this era, but he has lost none of his ambition. He believes that the crown of England rightfully belongs to him through a chain of dynastic claims too complicated to untangle. And when a disgruntled English earl named Tostig approaches him with an offer of alliance, Harald sees his opportunity. Tostig Godwinson is the brother of Harold Godwinson, the newly crowned King of England. The 2 brothers hate each other. Tostig was the Earl of Northumbria until his subjects revolted against his harsh rule, and Harold, then merely the most powerful earl in England, sided with the rebels and sent Tostig into exile. When Harold became king in January 1066, Tostig began plotting revenge. He finds in Harold Hardrada a willing partner. The plan is simple. Harold will invade northern England with a massive Viking fleet. Tostig will join him with whatever forces he can gather. Together, they will crush Harold's northern defenses and march on London. The kingdom will fall. Harold will be king. Tostig will be restored to power. It should work. It very nearly does. In September 1066, Harold Hardrada sails for England with approximately 300 ships, carrying somewhere between 9,000 and 15,000 warriors. This is not a raid. This is an invasion fleet, the largest Viking armada to threaten England in generations. They land on the Yorkshire coast and begin moving inland. The northern English earls, Edwin of Mercia and Morcar of Northumbria, scramble to respond. They gather what forces they can, perhaps 5,000 men, mostly untrained 3rd Militia, and march to intercept the invaders. The 2 armies meet at Fulford, just outside the city of York, on September 20th, 1066. The battle is a disaster for the English. The chronicles describe the Vikings fighting with devastating efficiency, their shield wall grinding forward like a machine, their axes rising and falling with mechanical precision. The northern levies break. Edwin and Morcar barely escape with their lives. Thousands of English soldiers die in the marshes around Fulford, cut down by Viking blades or drowned trying to flee. York itself, the second city of England, opens its gates and surrenders without a fight. Harold Hardrada has achieved everything he came for. Northern England has fallen.
York has surrendered. The local nobles are rushing to submit rather than face the fate of those who died at Fulford. All that remains is to collect the tribute and hostages that will formalize his conquest.
Harold moves his army to Stamford Bridge, a crossing point on the River Derwent about 7 miles east of York, where the English hostages are supposed to be delivered. He is so confident of his position that he leaves his ships at Rickall, 15 miles away. Many of his men do not even bother wearing their armor. It is a warm September day. They are waiting for tribute. What could possibly go wrong? Everything could go wrong. Because King Harold Godwinson is not in the north, he is in the south, where he has been waiting all summer for a different invasion entirely.
William of Normandy, the Duke who claims the English throne for himself, has been gathering a fleet across the Channel. Harold has stationed his army along the southern coast, watching and waiting. When word reaches him of the Viking landing in the north, Harold faces an impossible choice. If he marches north to fight Harold, he leaves the south exposed to William.
If he stays to guard against William, he loses the north to the Vikings. Harold makes his decision. He will march north. He will destroy the Vikings.
And he will march back south to deal with William before the Norman can even land. It is insane. It is impossible. It is exactly what he does.
The English army covers 185 miles in 4 days. Modern scholars still debate how Harold achieved this. The core of his army is his personal guard, the housecarls, professional soldiers equipped with the finest weapons and trained to fight as a cohesive unit. These men are mounted, which helps with speed, but Harold also brings thousands of feared levies, common men called up for military service, who march on foot. 4 days, 185 miles. Armies in this era typically covered 10 to 15 miles a day. Harold's force averages over 45. It is one of the greatest forced marches in medieval military history. September 25th, 1066. The English army approaches Stamford Bridge from the west. The Vikings do not see them coming. They are relaxed, scattered, waiting for hostages that will never arrive. Some are across the river on the east bank. Some are on the west bank. Many are not wearing armor. Their chainmail is back at the ships, 15 miles away. When the first English scouts appear on the western hills, the Vikings assume it is the tribute delegation. Then they see the size of the column. Then they see the sunlight glinting on thousands of spear points. Then they understand. Harold Hardrada watches the English army deploy from the east bank and realizes immediately how badly he has miscalculated. His army is split by the river. His men are unprepared. His armor is miles away. He has 2 options: retreat to the ships and lose everything, or stand and fight without half his equipment. For a man who has spent his entire life attacking, retreat is unthinkable. He sends riders racing to the ships, ordering his reserves to bring the armor as fast as possible. Then he forms his army for battle. If he can hold until reinforcements arrive, he can still win this. If the English break through before then, everyone dies. The bridge itself is the key. A narrow wooden crossing. It can only accommodate a handful of men at a time. Harold orders his warriors on the west bank to hold the bridge for as long as possible, buying time for the main army to form up on the east bank. The delay he needs is counted in minutes. Every minute, more warriors form in formation. Every minute is a chance. The next hours become legend. The English advance and find their path blocked by the bridge, held by a handful of Viking warriors who refuse to give ground. One man, a single berserker whose name the chronicles do not record, holds the bridge alone for what seems like an eternity. The English throw men at him. He cuts them down. Axes, spears, swords, nothing stops him. According to the chronicles, he kills 40 men before someone finally gets underneath the bridge in a boat and stabs him through the wooden planks from below. It is an inglorious end for a hero's stand, but the berserker has bought his king precious minutes. The English pour across the bridge and form up on the east bank. The Vikings have had time to organize their shield wall, but they are still outnumbered, still without armor, still fighting men who have come for revenge. What follows is not a battle. It is a slaughter that takes hours to complete. King Harold Godwinson has done something unusual for this era. Before the battle begins, he rides forward and offers his brother Tostig a chance to surrender. "Come back to your brother," Harold says. "You'll have your earldom back. You'll have peace." There does not need to be bloodshed. Tostig asks what Harold will offer his ally, Harold Hardrada. Harold's response has echoed through 9 centuries. 7 feet of English ground, or as much more as he is taller than other men. It is a grave. It is the only thing Harold will give the Viking king. Tostig refuses to abandon his ally. The battle begins. The Viking shield wall is one of the most formidable defensive formations in medieval warfare. Warriors stand shoulder to shoulder, their overlapping shields creating a barrier of wood and iron. In normal circumstances, it is nearly impossible to break. But these are not normal circumstances. The Vikings are without their mail. Their shields are lighter than usual, meant for travel rather than war. And they are facing the English housecarls, who carry the heaviest axes in the known world. 2-handed Danish axes that can split a man from shoulder to hip with a single blow. The housecarls do not try to push through the shield wall. They break it. The great axes rise and fall, shattering shields, severing arms, opening gaps that the English spearmen exploit. The sound is horrific. Wood cracking, men screaming, the wet thud of iron meeting flesh. The Vikings in the front rank watch their shields disintegrate under blows that would kill a horse. Without mail, a single axe strike is fatal. Men who have survived decades of warfare die in seconds, their bodies opened from crown to sternum by weapons designed for exactly this purpose. The Vikings fight with the fury of men who know they are doomed. They sell their lives as dearly as any warriors in history. Every fallen Norseman takes an Englishman with him if he can. The grass becomes slick with blood, and still they fight. But courage cannot compensate for missing armor, and bravery cannot stop an axe. The shield wall shrinks, the gaps widen. The English pour through like water through a breaking dam. The Vikings who survived the initial melee begin to understand the mathematics of their situation. They are outnumbered. They are unarmored. Their king is somewhere in the chaos, fighting like the demon warrior he is. But even Harold Hardrada cannot be everywhere at once. Some men break and run. There is no shame in their flight. There is simply no hope in staying. The English pursue, cutting down fugitives as they flee toward the river, toward the ships that are too far away to matter. Harold Hardrada dies in the early afternoon. The sources disagree on how. Some say an arrow struck him in the throat as he stood rallying his men, the shaft punching through where his mail would have protected him if he had been wearing it. Others say he fell in the melee, overwhelmed by English axes, brought down by the kind of mass assault that no single warrior, no matter how mighty, can survive. The giant who had never lost a battle, who had fought from Sicily to Russia, who had dreamed of adding England to his conquests, dies on a riverbank in Yorkshire. 7 feet of English ground, his only reward. The moment Harold falls, the battle changes. His banner, called Land Waster, falls with him. The Vikings see it fall. The Vikings know what it means. For 50 years, that banner has led them to victory after victory. Now it lies in the mud, trampled by English boots. The heart goes out of the Norse army. Some keep fighting, warriors whose entire identity is built around combat, who do not know how to do anything else. But the organized resistance crumbles. The shield wall becomes a collection of desperate men fighting alone. A man named Eystein Ori arrives with the reinforcements from the ships. These warriors have run 15 miles in armor in the September heat. They are exhausted before they even see the enemy. But they charge anyway into a battle that is already lost, trying to retrieve the body of their king. This is the final act. The English cut them down. The exhausted reinforcements can barely lift their weapons. Some collapse from heat and exhaustion without an English blade touching them. The battle becomes a pursuit. The pursuit becomes a massacre. Of the approximately 9,000 Vikings who landed in England, fewer than 2,000 survived Stamford Bridge. Think about those numbers. More than 7,000 Norse warriors dead in a single afternoon.
Of the 300 ships that brought them, only 24 are needed to carry the survivors home. The rest, 276 longships that sailed from Norway with dreams of conquest, will rot on the English coast, their crews buried in mass graves or left for the crows. Tostig Godwinson dies on the field, fighting beside the ally he chose over his brother. The chronicles give us no details of his death, no heroic last stand, no famous final words. He simply dies, one more body among thousands. His gamble for power ended in blood and failure.
His body is identified after the battle, and Harold has him buried with full honors. Because treachery does not erase blood. Because even after everything Tostig did, he was still Harold's brother. The king who would show no mercy to invaders shows mercy to the man who invited them. King Harold stands on the battlefield as the sun sets, surrounded by thousands of dead Vikings. He has achieved something no English king has achieved in living memory: the complete destruction of a major Viking invasion force. The northern threat is eliminated. England is saved. Harold allows himself a moment of triumph. It lasts 3 days. On September 28, 1066, William of Normandy lands on the southern coast of England with his own invasion force. Harold has to march his exhausted army 250 miles south, fight another battle, and save his kingdom all over again. He does not make it. On October 14th, at the Battle of Hastings, Harold Godwinson dies with an arrow in his eye. The English army breaks. William becomes the conqueror. England changes forever. But that is another story. The story of Stamford Bridge is simpler. It is the day the Viking Age ended. Not with a gradual decline, not with assimilation, not with treaty or diplomacy. It ended with one afternoon of slaughter on an English riverbank. The greatest Viking warrior who ever lived marched into England expecting to conquer it. He received 7 feet of English ground instead.
The Vikings would never again mount a serious invasion of England. Oh, there would be raids. There would be the occasional fleet appearing on the horizon, testing defenses, probing for weakness.
But the age of great Viking conquests in England was finished. The dream of a North Sea empire ruled from a throne in York or London, that dream died with Harald Hardrada. The Scandinavian kingdoms turned their energies elsewhere, toward internal consolidation, toward Christianity, and toward the gradual transformation from raiders into merchants and settlers. The fierce pagans who had terrorized Christendom became Christian kings themselves, their churches rising where their grandfathers had burned monasteries. The age of long ships and monastery burnings, of blood eagles and Danegeld, was over. It ended where so many things end, on a battlefield, with the death of a dream. The warriors who had made Europe tremble for 3 centuries found their final answer at Stamford Bridge, and the answer was no. No more tribute, no more surrender, no more fear. Just English axes and English ground, and the end of everything the Vikings had built. Harald Hardrada believed he was destined to rule England. He believed his strength, his experience, and his legendary reputation made him invincible. He believed wrong. King Harold Godwinson proved that legends can die, the giants can fall, that 300 years of terror can end in a single afternoon, if someone is brave enough, fast enough, and ruthless enough to end it. There is a final irony here that history books often miss. Harold Godwinson won the battle that saved England from the Vikings. He broke their power forever. And for that victory, he is barely remembered.
It is William the Conqueror who gets the glory, because William won the battle that came 3 weeks later. Harold's triumph at Stamford Bridge has been overshadowed by his defeat at Hastings ever since.
But Stamford Bridge was the greater achievement. Hastings changed who ruled England. Stamford Bridge changed what kind of threat England would face. The Vikings never came back. They could not. Their best army, their greatest king, their last real chance, all of it died at Stamford Bridge.
Consider the scale of what Harold accomplished. 4 days of forced marching, a surprise attack against an enemy who thought he had already won, the complete annihilation of an invasion force that outnumbered the defenders of northern England 3-1 just 5 days earlier.
9,000 Vikings reduced to 2,000 survivors. 300 ships reduced to 24. The end of 3 centuries of Scandinavian expansion. All of it achieved by one king who refused to accept that England was lost.
Harold Godwinson was king for less than a year. He spent most of that year marching from crisis to crisis, fighting enemies on every side. He won every battle, except the last one.
And the battle he won most completely, the battle that shaped the future most profoundly, is the one that history has largely forgotten. September 25th, 1066, Stamford Bridge.
15,000 English soldiers meet 9,000 Vikings on the banks of a river in Yorkshire. The Vikings are led by a legend. The English are led by a king with nothing left to lose.
By sunset, the legend is dead, the Viking Age is over, and the English king is already turning south to face his next enemy.
3 weeks later, Harold will die at Hastings, but Stamford Bridge was his masterpiece. Stamford Bridge was the afternoon that proved England was worth fighting for.
That some threats do not require negotiation. They require annihilation. That the only tribute worth paying to an invader is 7 feet of English ground.
The Viking Age began in 793 Anno Domini with the raid on Lindisfarne. Monks were slaughtered and treasures stolen, the first of countless attacks that would terrorize Europe for generations.
It ended 273 years later on a warm September afternoon when an English king caught an invading army without their armor and made them pay for every monastery burned, every village looted, every century of fear. 9,000 came to conquer. 2,000 limped home to tell the tale, and the longships never came for England again.
Harald Hardrada received his 7 feet of ground. The Viking Age received its grave. And Harold Godwinson, the king who would die 3 weeks later, achieved something that would outlast him by 1,000 years. He ended an era with a single afternoon of total, devastating, final victory.